Hi, welcome to Cloud Channel. In this module, we will learn about Snowflake architecture. Snowflake is a true SaaS service, and there is no hardware to select, install, configure, or manage, and there is no virtually software to install, configure, or manage. All ongoing maintenance, management, upgrades, and tuning are handled by Snowflake. Snowflake runs completely on cloud infrastructure, and all components of Snowflake service run in public cloud infrastructures. So let's talk about Snowflake architecture. Snowflake architecture is a hybrid of traditional shared disk and shared nothing database architectures. Before we talk about Snowflake architecture, let's talk about what is shared disk and shared netting database architectures. Let's talk about shared disk architecture. In the shared disk architecture, only the disks are shared by all processors through the interconnection network. The main memory is not shared. Each processor exclusive access to its main memory. So each processor memory node is under the control of its own copy of the operating system. Since any processor can cache the same disk page, a cache coherency mechanism is necessary. And what is shared nothing architecture? In the shared nothing architecture, each node is made of processor, main memory, and disk and communicates with other nodes through the interconnection network. Each node is under the control of its own copy of the operating system and can be viewed as a local site in a distributed database system. Similar to shared disk architectures, Snowflake uses a central data repository for persistent data that is accessible from all compute nodes in the platform. But similar to shared nothing architectures, Snowflake processes queries using massively parallel processing compute clusters where each node in the cluster stores a portion of the entire dataset locally. This approach offers the data management simplicity of a shared disk architecture, but with the performance and scale-out benefits of a shared nothing architecture. Snowflake unique architecture consists of three layers. They are database storage, query processing, and cloud services. Let's talk about database storage. When data is loaded into Snowflake, Snowflake reorganizes the data into its internal optimized compressed columnar format. Snowflake stores this optimized data in cloud storage. So when we load data from third-party system or from our local machine from any source into Snowflake, so Snowflake completely reorganizes that data into its internal optimized compressed and columnar format. Snowflake manages all aspects of how this data is stored, the organization, file size, structure, compression, metadata, statistics, and other aspects of data storage are handled by Snowflake. The data objects stored by Snowflake are not directly visible nor accessible by customers. They are only accessible through SQL query operations run using Snowflake. Let's talk about query processing. Query execution is performed in the processing layer. Snowflake processes queries using virtual warehouses. So let's talk about virtual warehouses. What is virtual warehouses? A virtual warehouse means simply a warehouse is a cluster of compute resources in Snowflake. A warehouse provides the required resources such as CPU, memory, and temporary storage to perform DML operations or select operations, any operations. So we need a warehouse in Snowflake to execute SQL select statements that require compute resources, and performing DML operations such as updating rows in tables, loading data into tables, and unloading data from tables. To perform all these activities, we must need warehouse in Snowflake. While a warehouse is running, it consumes Snowflake credits. And there is a module available in my channel if you want to know more about warehouse, how to create warehouse, and what are the sizes available, and how the credits, like how Snowflake charges when we use a warehouse to perform SQL select statements or to perform DML operations. Please go through that module to learn more about this warehouse, how to create, how to suspend, how to configure, how to resize this warehouse. And each virtual warehouse is an independent compute cluster that does not share compute resources with other virtual warehouses. As a result, each virtual warehouse has no impact on the performance of other virtual warehouses. Let's talk about last one, cloud services. The cloud services layer is a collection of services that coordinate activities across Snowflake. These services tie together all of the different components of Snowflake in order to process user requests from login to query dispatch. The cloud services layer also runs on compute instances provisioned by Snowflake from the cloud provider. In this layer, the services managed authentication, infrastructure management, metadata management, query parsing and optimization, and access control. In these modules, so far we covered what is Snowflake architecture, and we talked about what is shared disk architecture and what is shared nothing database architecture, and we also discussed how many layers Snowflake architecture consists of and what are those layers, and we discussed about database storage, query processing, and we also talked about virtual warehouse and how it works and why we need a warehouse. And also we discussed about cloud services. If you have any questions on the Snowflake architecture, please post in the comments. If you like this video, please subscribe and share the channel. Thank you.